Why does the same choice feel thrilling in one decade and draining in another, even when your personality seems mostly the same? Picture a family dinner where one person wants a loud new fusion place, another wants the reliable neighborhood spot, and a third person wants to cook at home in peace. Nobody is irrational in that moment, but their inner preference dial is tuned to different frequencies. That gap shapes who we date, what jobs we accept, how we spend money, and how we vote on risk in everyday life. If you can read that dial by decade, you can predict conflict earlier, design better products, and make far kinder decisions with people you love. The payoff is simple but powerful because you will stop treating taste differences like personality flaws and start seeing the hidden forces that move them. Think of preference as a moving dial, not a fixed label. In early adulthood, the dial usually scans for possibility because identity is still under construction, and social feedback carries huge weight. Later, the dial often shifts toward fit because time feels more limited and the cost of bad choices rises. Across many long-running studies, this pattern appears again and again, even when people stay recognizably themselves. The person is not replaced, but the tuning changes with decade, stakes, and energy. Imagine a college graduate choosing a city. One neighborhood has uncertain rent, but endless novelty, and another has steady routines and short commutes. Many younger adults still lean toward the uncertain option because exploration pays identity dividends early on and unfamiliar environments can expand social and career options. Researchers who track personality and behavior over time often find stronger novelty seeking in younger groups, with gradual softening as people accumulate commitments. This does not mean everyone in their 20s is impulsive, and it does not mean caution is absent. It means the dial is tilted towards sampling, because information about who you are is still worth collecting. Keep that in mind, because the next turn explains why the same person later calls that exact period fun and exhausting. Try this on yourself right now with no preparation. Think about your last 5 big choices, then ask which one was chosen mainly for discovery and which one was chosen mainly for stability. If your choices split down the middle, your dial is probably in transition rather than locked. If one side dominates, that tells you where your current decade pressures are pointing. This tiny check works because preferences are rarely abstract opinions, and they show up first in calendar entries, spending patterns, and who gets your last hour of energy at night. Now picture the 30s for many people, where responsibilities stack quietly. Career tracks narrow, families grow, bodies recover a little slower, and coordination costs rise in almost every plan. Under those conditions, preferences often become less about maximum excitement and more about dependable return. Large surveys of consumer behavior and time use repeatedly show this shift toward reliability, convenience, and lower friction decisions. People start valuing products and relationships that reduce uncertainty because uncertainty now taxes several systems at once. The dial is not becoming timid, but it is becoming selective. That selectivity can look boring from the outside until you see the math underneath it. A short story makes this real. Maya loved last-minute road trips in her 20s and once drove through the night for a concert because the spontaneity felt alive. A decade later, she still loves music, but she buys seats with better sound, leaves earlier, and protects the next morning because her work and family roles are tightly coupled. Her core taste did not vanish, yet her tolerance for collateral chaos shrank. When friends called her less fun, they missed the actual change, which was not joy but bandwidth. The dial had moved from sampling to curation, and curation is often a higher skill, not a smaller life. Here is a common misconception that causes unnecessary fights. People often assume older preferences are rigid, while younger preferences are authentic. Evidence suggests both ideas are weak. Younger adults are often highly authentic and highly socially sensitive at the same time, so peer context can swing choices more than they realize. Older adults can be deeply flexible when the outcome feels meaningful and the downside is manageable. The real divider is less about stubbornness and more about expected payoff per unit of energy. Once you see that equation, disagreements start to look solvable. Let us move into the 40s and 50s, where another turn becomes visible. Many people report that emotional quality rises in importance, even when external ambition remains high. Psychologists studying time perspective consistently find that when people feel time as more finite, they prioritize emotionally meaningful goals over pure information gathering. That can mean fewer but deeper friendships, clearer boundaries, and faster rejection of draining commitments. It can also mean stronger preference for trust signals, because relational reliability now protects both mood and health. The dial is not closing to life, but it is filtering harder for meaning. Run another quick experiment. Open your messages and scan the last week, then notice which conversations gave energy and which ones quietly took it away. Now imagine repeating the draining pattern every week for a year. Most people immediately feel why their decade shifts toward protective preferences once roles multiply and recovery slows. That feeling is the mechanism, not a moral weakness, and it appears across cultures even when the details differ. Later decades add one more twist that surprises younger viewers. Many older adults become better at emotional regulation and less interested in constant social comparison, which can make their preferences look calmer from the outside. Research on attention and memory often finds a mild positivity tilt with age, where people preferentially invest in emotionally rewarding information and interactions. This does not erase grief, stress, or financial pressure, and it certainly does not make everyone serene. It means the dial can favor peace over status performance when the trade-off becomes obvious. That shift reshapes media habits, conflict style, and everyday expectations in ways people often overlook. At this point, a fair question usually surfaces in most conversations. Are these decade effects really age, or are they just cohort differences from technology, economy, and culture? Single moment snapshots can confuse the picture because different generations were shaped by different schools, markets, and social norms. Longitudinal studies that follow the same people across time give cleaner evidence that many preference shifts occur within individuals, not only between generations. So yes, culture colors the dial, but the dial still moves as life horizon and constraints change. This is where the topic becomes practical. If you lead a mixed age team, do not sell one plan with one value proposition. Frame the same choice through exploration, then through reliability, then through meaning, because different decades optimize for different risks. If you build products, design for adjustable defaults so users can move from discovery mode to curation mode without friction. If you are navigating family conflict, ask one question before arguing about taste. Ask what future cost each person is trying to avoid, because preference fights are usually future management fights in disguise. There is also a relationship lesson hidden here. Partners often panic when preferences drift over time, as if drift proves the bond was fake. Most of the time, drift simply reflects a dial adapting to workload, health, and time perspective. Strong couples and strong friendships revisit the dial openly instead of defending outdated versions of each other. They replace accusation with calm recalibration, and they revisit expectations before resentment hardens. That single move preserves intimacy, protects autonomy, and keeps change from feeling like betrayal. Now return to that dinner table from the beginning and watch the same scene differently. The person craving novelty is not shallow. The person choosing reliability is not fearful, and the person wanting quiet is not withdrawn by default. They are all making rational bids for the kind of life their current decade makes urgent. When you learn to hear that signal, age gaps in preference stop feeling like personal rejection and start feeling like readable human strategy. The same person can carry one core self across decades while turning the dial with surprising wisdom. Read the dial, respect the decade, and people suddenly make more sense.